rockin' YouTube, my name's Gray and today I will be going back in time to revisit the arcade heritage that turned a small Japanese game studio known as Capsule Computers into an industry giant better known today as Capcom, with a look at a series of compilations of Capcom's best known early titles. Originally released across 5 discs on both the PlayStation and Sega Saturn in Japan, the first 4 of which would get collected into a European exclusive release. It is Capcom Generations. And we're going to start strong as Disc 1 contains some classic shoot 'em up action, with the first 3 entries in the 1942 series. Considering Capcom have never been known as a shoot 'em up developer, the first title in the longer running than you'd think series of World War II themed shooters may not be much to speak about now, but was a big hit in arcades when first released in 1984. But it's the home ports that came out for all the popular 8-bits from Spectrum, Commodore 64, MSX and of course NES that would really put the name Capcom forefront in the minds of gamers. Released first to arcades in 1987, 1943 improved upon everything from the original, and even now, all these years later, is still a fun little game to play. The annoying one-hit deaths are replaced with an energy bar, meaning the game just flows so much better. Once again, home ports is how the majority of people could actually play it, and like the first, it came out for almost every system going. But Capcom weren't finished with the franchise just yet. Because 1 year later they would bring to us 1943 Kai, an improvement in every way possible to a game barely 1 year old. This is in fact my introduction to the series, because I played it obsessively on the PC Engine when I first got my hands on that console back in the late 1990s. But while I have a lot of appreciation for the franchise, I know it's not for everyone. But stick around, because on Disc 2 we're going to play some notoriously difficult medieval platform adventures. Disc 2, known as Chronicles of Arthur, contains Capcom's Arthurian cycle of arcade classics Ghouls and Ghosts, which are easily their most well-known series prior to Street Fighter 2. But how well have they stood the march of time? Let's find out. Before Dark Souls and Flappy Bird made extreme difficulty mainstream, we had Ghouls and Ghosts, and the all but forgotten predecessor, Ghosts and Goblins. Now I had this game on my Commodore C16+4 as a kid, which I'd like to tell you was as good as the standout Commodore 64 port, but if I did, I'd be a liar, as it's one of the worst video games ever produced by man. Putting aside my stolen childhood by Elite Systems' shoddy port of Ghosts and Goblins, it says a lot about Capcom and many other reputable studios of this period in gaming that I would place Ghouls and Ghosts alongside and even ahead of many of the more recent 2D Dark Souls inspired Metroidvanias. Tastes may change, fashions may change, but quality is truly timeless. You know, something's been bugging me since 1998 when I first bought this collection, and that's, why is the SNES version of Super Ghouls and Ghosts included as if it was somehow canon? I mean, I'm not complaining, It's a corker, but does that mean it was also included on the Saturn release? Or did Sega throw in the equally impressive Mega Drive port? Either way, these three rock-hard platform gems are worth the price of this compilation alone. But we're only halfway through. The next disc we're going to be looking at contains some of Capcom's earlier, less known titles developed at the height of the arcade boom, but as you're about to see, are no less impressive as we look at Capcom Generations Disc 3, The First Generation. The Chinese classic tale of the journey to the West has proved fertile grounds for the imaginations of centuries of storytellers. Here's Capcom's rendition, Son Son, a forced scrolling platformer that's a surprisingly playable if fiddly game. A Japanese-only Famicom port would follow, as well as a PC Engine exclusive sequel. Won't turn many heads today, but worth a bash. Next up is Vulgus, a basic shoot 'em up when all's said and done, and with music that really begins to grate after a while. But persevere and Vulgus becomes a frantic and almost bullet hell-like experience, which sadly to my knowledge was never ported to any home systems. So compilations like these are your only way of trying what was Capcom's first ever video game. And now we come to the game I easily put the most time into in this entire collection. It's the blatant Bomberman ripoff, Pirate Ship Higamaru, where the bombs are replaced by barrels, and well, that's it. I can only speculate that no home release followed because of a potential lawsuit/letter bomb from Hudson Soft. But if you only play one game from this collection, make it this one. It's brilliant. Well, by the sheer law of averages, they can't all be stunners, can they? But hey, some people like a bit of gristle. So here's the final game on Disc 3, X'd Eyes, a serviceable shooter with nothing unique or innovative to bring to the genre. A Famicom port is knocking about, but considering the depth and quality of the Famicom's shoot 'em up library, it's not worth the bother. But don't despair folks, X'd Eyes wasn't the beginning of a downward trend, but rather a step back before a massive leap forward. Now it might surprise a few of you to hear this, but the games contained on Disc 4 were what I was most looking forward to playing when I first picked up this collection. So let's take a look at Capcom Generations Disc 4, Blazing Guns. It's always surprised me that within the retro sphere here on YouTube, how few people seem to mention Commando. I played it at a friend's house on his Commodore 64 and then suffered withdrawal symptoms until I could go back and play it again. It's one of the system's best games. It has left its mark on the industry, arguably to this very day, with the phrase Commando clone used as often as Dark Souls clone today. A true classic. Now some of you Sega aficionados might be familiar with this one, Mercs, as the Mega Drive had a very respectable conversion grace it. What many of you probably don't know however is that this is Commando 2. But sadly, for all its insane, cathartic, one-man army action, the genre just felt stale, as other companies had, by this time, tinkered with the formula to bring us much better games. By no means bad, and if anything, the passage of time has made Mercs more playable, and in 2008, a third game would appear on Xbox 360 and PS3 in Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3. Mercs, though, can be best described as a guilty pleasure kind of game. Gunsmoke, yeah, as a shoot 'em up fan, I've seen the genre go in some pretty weird directions, but this is the only instance I can think of where an Old West theme is employed. It reminds me a lot of the old Technosoft Mega Drive game Elemental Master. Unfortunately, this port is hampered by the directions to shoot being mapped to the buttons, similar to Super Smash TV, not to mention no music, which seems like a real missed opportunity to me. Now, I hear the NES port is actually pretty good, but I've never played it, and on that note, we've come to the end of the video. Because Disc 5, the Street Fighter collection, got a separate physical release, and if any of you would like to hear my thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. I believe my arm can be twisted. In the meantime, however, here's some of the bonus content on the discs, such as original artwork from games like Mercs. So, thank you all for watching, more videos up soon, and until next time, goodbye.